dusty. You've been rolling around in the dirt.
Hey folks, boy Isa, you're right up on top of everything. What you can't see is that behind the camera, up on top of a bookshelf, our cat Isa has managed to get up there and is looking down like a vulture saying, "Patience, hell, I'm going to kill something." Anyway, well, hey folks, we've been watching the YouTube challenge going around to name 5 seeds that we're going to plant this year, and we have 5 things. We have, I think, 3 seeds that we're specifically going to talk about, and then we have 2 that are actually groups of seeds. First, we're going to grow a black cherry tomato. Now, this tomato was recommended to us by Swedish Homestead. Simeon over there grows this tomato, and I decided that I was going to try to track it down. And I looked and looked and looked and couldn't find exactly the tomato that he was talking about. So I sent him a message and asked, "Where do you get your seeds?" And he gave me 2 places where he gets his tomato seeds. And so I contacted one of them with the aid of a translation program. So we have 15 seeds of the black cherry tomato. Now, the claim to fame for this tomato, as far as I'm concerned, is it will grow in cooler temperatures, which means we should be able to grow it starting about now and again later on this fall.
Yeah, he grows it actually in his greenhouse. They have to grow all their tomatoes in the greenhouse because the season's not long enough there. But he does very well with those tomatoes in a greenhouse in the fall, unheated. So, well, he uses manure to heat the greenhouse, but other than that, he doesn't have heaters. So we're looking forward to playing with it this summer. It sounds like it'll be very tough and hopefully last into the fall sometime. And it's actually, although they call it cherry, he says it's actually much bigger than most of your cherry tomatoes. It's, a couple more like that than a cherry.
Inch and a quarter to an inch and a half in diameter is what we understand.
Right.
So, do you want to talk some about pole beans?
Well, actually, what I was excited about, because this is supposed to be what we're excited about new this year, is I've grown lots of pole beans before, but I've been thinking for a couple of years that I might try some of the Asian varieties, and this year we're going to do it. We have red noodle and Gita. Those are both the yard-long beans, and they grow between 16 and 20 inches long. So really looking forward to try that. Red noodle obviously is red, and Gita is a green variety, but they're supposed to be very productive and tolerant of lots of crummy hot weather. So we're hoping they're right on that, because that would be a very nice thing to be able to add to the stir fry. We do a lot of stir fry here in the summertime because it's quick and you don't make the house as warm, which is very important.
And I like to eat stir fry, so that's a
right.
good thing.
And we're big veggie fans anyway, so it's a great, wonderful, quick way to put a meal on the table, basically.
The next seed that I'm excited by is one that I'd heard about before and just never got around to trying. We tried some other beans from native seed called tepary beans, and they were really quite remarkable because we didn't have to water them very much in the summer, and they produced a nice crop of shell beans. But this one is from Rob over at Ession Family Garden. This is a rattlesnake pole bean. Now, I'm not sure how much this piece of mythology is correct, but according to some of the research I've done, these beans were associated with the Hopis, and the Hopis would plant it with the aid of Kokopelli. Now, Kokopelli is a god for fertility for the Hopis. that fertility includes both animals and vegetables. I'm hoping this one is going to be fertile and do a really good job.
Those can be eaten as either green beans or as dried beans. So I expect we'll try them as both, and probably towards the end of the summer let them go to dry, because that'll give us seeds to do it again. And
we may be able to share some.
Right, and they are available from Native Seeds, which we've bought stuff from before, and they say that they're supposed to be pretty amazing because they could survive just on the monsoon season rains, which doesn't come until July here, so it's probably a little late, but they tolerate the heat, so we'll go for it and see what happens.
What's the next seed that you're excited by?
This is one we heard about on YouTube. Spring Hill Farms up in Canada talked about growing ground cherries, and we're like, what the heck is a ground cherry?
Yeah, I'd never heard of a ground cherry before.
Nope, neither of us had. And so I looked it up, and they're called ground cherries or husk cherries. They're related to tomatoes and tomatillos, and they were growing them as a fruit, which they are. But it's an annual. It's not something that you plant and have to wait for years for it to provide fruit. And that's one of the big problems we've had here is keeping things alive for years. You'll just get to the point where something's producing and then something eats it.
And the darn gophers come and eat all the roots, and then you pick up the tree and there's nothing
left. So, we figured ways around that, but it makes it hard for us to invest the money, time, and effort to actually install fruit. So we thought we would give this a try, and we've got two different varieties. We've got one from Seed Savers, which supposedly came to Canada from Russia in the 1920s, and then another also organic and heirloom variety from Johnny's. And we're going to see which one we like. We're going to try them both and see what happens. Basically, I don't know if I don't have any husk cherries husks right now. But we can include a picture of this just to show you what it looks like. It looks like a little Chinese lantern on the outside, and then like a tomatillo does. When you open up that papery outside, there's a little berry-like thing in the center of it. So we're excited. It's going to be interesting to see what happens. Because they're open pollinated, we'll make sure we plant them at opposite ends of the garden.
And then hopefully we'll have some seeds that we'll be able to use again next year.
Right.
Now this is a very interesting last seed that I'm going to talk about. We actually learned about the particulars of this kind of bean from a documentary from World War II in Great Britain. There they call it a broad bean. Mm-hmm. Here we call it a fava bean. Mm-hmm. Now we've talked about trying fava beans for quite a while. And it's one of the things that we said, I'm not sure. We have too many things to plant already. We don't really have a place to put it.
Right.
Let's kind of pass on it, and maybe we'll try it some other day. So this is the day.
Mm-hmm. Well, what really convinced us was that during World War II in Great Britain, they had, in the United States it was the Victory Gardens. They had a different name for it there. I don't remember what it was. But it's the same concept that in order to beat the Germans during World War II, they needed to be growing as much vegetables on the home front as possible because people basically needed to provide their own food. And the majority of the commercially produced food was being shipped off to the troops overseas. So they really encouraged everybody to rip out the flower gardens and all that sort of stuff and plant. And one of the things that they planted was broad beans. And when I looked it up, most bush beans start to germinate best in the high 70s for soil temperature, but fava beans actually germinate best with a soil temperature between 60 and 68. So that means that's almost a 10-degree difference. Well, it is a 10-degree difference for most things. That means you're getting it in the bean a lot sooner. So, and they don't like hot weather. So our goal is to plant them early. And in fact, I'm going to start taking the temperature of the bed out there pretty quick. And we're going to see what the soil temperature is, get them in, and that way we can get the crop off before the summer heat hits, which they don't like.
Yeah. The real trick for us is to figure out which bed we're going to put it in, because we have a few issues going on with a couple of beds that we have to sort out. But we still have several beds that are candidates for
I think they're
planting
going to go
seeds.
in the carrots, the old carrot bed.
If you didn't see our previous video where Irene took you on a tour of our gardens, you should take a look. We have a specific bed that we originally built for carrots and carrot-related produce.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's where we're going to plant it this year. That's what Irene thinks as well.
Yeah, well, I cleaned out the extra salt off the top last fall and topped it up with a bunch of new mulch and all that sort of stuff. I wasn't sure what I was going to use it for then, but it's all ready to go.
Yeah, when
So-
when Irene says salt, we actually get salts on the top of the soil here when we top water the soil. It's one of the reasons why we went to the wicking bed originally, was because that way we could kind of mitigate that salt. But she pulled that off, and that's someplace else now, and that bed's ready to go. Now, one of the people that we watch on YouTube made a comment that he should have made an honorable mention for flowers. So I think Irene and I are going to talk about whether or not we actually want to do 5 flower seeds that we're excited to plant this year. I'm not sure we have 5. Probably we do.
He doesn't know how many flower seeds I bought this spring.
Well, I guess then we'll go ahead and sort through and figure out what 5 we're most excited by growing. I hope you enjoyed this video. Please like and subscribe, and share it with your friends.
See you next time.
Thanks for watching. You know, I love getting seeds from Sweden. It's kind of hard to read the language because I don't read or speak Swedish at all. But fortunately, we have an assistant that can do some translation for us.
Google Translate, yes.